Hello everybody and welcome to another episode of the Detroit Tigers franchise on MLB The Show 20. Today, we take a look at the prospects coming out in this year's MLB draft. We will also be checking in on your players that were submitted after last year's MLB draft, so stay tuned throughout this video and drop a like if you're excited. If this is the first video you've seen on the channel, be sure to subscribe and get in on the action. Join the FG fam where we can build a winner together. We have a lot of prospects to get to and a lot of stories to tell. Because of this, I have brought in my friend Oct Boc of Octogonal Gaming to help us scout players on the international level. He's currently running a Pittsburgh Pirates franchise on his channel. A link to his channel is in the description box below. Be sure to check his channel out, subscribe if you like the content you see there, and let him know who sent you. Without further ado, Octy, tell us who impressed you at the international tournament this season.
Thank you, FG. What's going on, everyone? This is Oct Boc of Octogonal Gaming here to provide the scouting report for the international players this season. Last year, the Tigers took a lot of guys out of college and did not spend a lot of time looking the way of international prospects. The only guy they drafted outside of the U.S. last season was Anthony Salinas, a right fielder from the Dominican Republic. He's currently a bench player for the AAA Toledo Mudhens. This year, they have spent a lot of time looking outside the U.S. for great God-given talent. And boy, there is some this season. We'll start with some of the gems this season as far as international teams are concerned. Team Canada was quite the surprise this year. They didn't score many runs, but had two very good starters for them. Starting pitcher Benjamin McClendon was the ace of the staff this season. McClendon is from Toronto, has been a Blue Jays fan since he was 4. Now 20, he went the distance in a lot of games this season as he registered 4 complete games. He's a very balanced pitcher, but if there's one strength to his balanced game, it's the break on his pitches. This guy has some nasty curveball action. The second pitcher in this rotation for Canada was Hank Carter. Carter has a larger pitch repertoire and is another guy known for getting deep into games. He registered 6 complete games himself. He tends to give up a lot of hits, but ends up making sure they get left on base using his elite breaking balls, especially his killer slider away from a right-handed batter to get out of big jams. He's older than McClendon by a couple years, but only time will tell which pitcher will end up being best in the long run. Great pitching took Canada far this year, but their average lineup caused them to lose in the quarterfinals of the international tournament to Cuba. Part of that lineup was center fielder Frederick Porter. Make no mistake, Porter was not known for his bat at all. Porter is a durable, reliable, and very speedy option in the field. He was the best base stealer outside the U.S. this season, but he went 0 for 4 in the game against Cuba. Cuba had one of the top pitchers in the international tournament this year in starter Mario Corona. The big knock on Corona amongst most major league scouts is that he has trouble getting through 6 innings. However, I prefer to focus on the positives. He doesn't have a glaring weakness in his game. His velocity is solid enough, and his break is excellent. He rarely walks a batter, and even though he averaged only 6 1/3 innings in his starts, his ERA was 1.19 and he had a whip of .87. I don't know about you, but I would take that. If the scouts shun him for his lack of elite stamina, I would urge the Tigers to look his way. Cuba did beat Canada in the quarterfinal game with Corona on the mound, but failed to take the semifinal game against South Korea without him. The other quarterfinal game was Japan getting a win against Mexico. Mexico had starting pitcher Andres Beltran on the mound. He was only able to go 5 innings before straining his right bicep and being taken out of the game. He only had given up 1 run on a hanging curveball, which was the mistake pitch that hurt his bicep in the first place. At 20 years old, if he can rehab properly, Beltran will still be worthy of a pick in this year's draft. Right fielder Youzhny El Valenzuela is the star in this Mexico lineup. He went 1 for 3 in this game with a single in the 7th inning. Valenzuela is a very raw prospect at the next level, and it might take him a while to reach the majors, but when he does, he's going to be a force to be reckoned with. Japan took down Mexico with a great pitching staff in that game. Their best starter, John Mura, used his excellent power and pitching style and a really nice 12-6 curve to get through the Mexico lineup. His pitching repertoire isn't extensive, but the 3 pitches he has are very good, and it showed in this game. Mura was clutch on this day, and he took good stamina through the 8th inning for the very first time in his career. The game was capped off by Japan's closer, the best in the international tournament, Robert Matsuzuka, who struck out the side in the 9th inning to give Japan a 1-0 lead and move them on to the semifinals. In the semifinal game, Japan took on the tournament favorites without their ace pitcher, and it showed. They didn't have what it took to compete against the juggernaut Dominican team. Surprisingly this year, the Dominican Republic did not have a top-end starting staff. Relief pitcher Gilberto Cabrera came in the 5th inning for the Dominican team with the score tied at 4 and shut the door over the next 3 innings. The 18-year-old power reliever had 5 Ks in those 3 innings, and in the 9th, he turned it over to the 21-year-old closer, Samuel Santiago, and he got 3 straight ground balls out of his two-seamer to end the game at a 10-4 victory in favor of the Dominican Republic. The bullpen got a lot of credit for this win, and that's great, but the entire Dominican lineup is just scary. Their lineup has a lot of high-profile prospects. Some are very raw, with great potential. One of those is catcher Carlos Vizcaino. He has a long way to go, but at 18, he has the time to hone his skills and become a great value pick for a franchise. Another raw prospect is their first baseman, Edgar Gonzales, who was the top defensive first baseman in international play. He needs to work on his bat, and at 21, there aren't a ton of teams who will be patient in waiting for him to develop the bat. Center fielder Felipe Julio was the star on offense for the Dominican team this season. He has great speed and excellent base running. He's also never missed a game in his career. He's a solid contact hitter already at the age of 18. With just a little work in the minor leagues, this guy could be primed to take over the majors. Right fielder Bartolo Rivera is another guy who's kind of on the raw side as far as prospects. However, he excels on the base paths as well. A lot of scouts say he has great power potential, but it just hasn't become apparent quite yet. The one big downfall on Rivera has been his durability. He's great when he plays, but has only played in 60% of the games for the Dominican Republic due to injury. In their semifinal game against Cuba, South Korea starting pitcher William Do was on the mound and went 7 innings of one-hit ball. Do is a power pitcher who was on the top of his game that day. Also, at 23 years old, he used his experience to his advantage, pitching the edges with elite fastballs up and splitters low. If a right pitching coach gets a hold of Do, he can mold a really nice pitcher for the future of his ball club. The Dominican Republic ended up taking the finals from South Korea 6-2. This came as no surprise to most, but what was a little bit of a surprise was the award for the best relief pitcher, which went to Netherlands pitcher Otto Shipley. Shipley is only 18 and played for one of the worst teams this season. The thing is, in all of his relief efforts, he barely allowed any hits. His big issue was allowing home runs, which is why the award was surprising to an extent. He allowed a total of 27 hits this season, 12 of which were home runs. He doesn't really have the strength when it comes to break, velocity, or control. His control needs the most work, but all of them could use some TLC from a top pitching coach. Shipley is an interesting prospect, and it will be interesting to see who takes a chance on him. With so many international prospects, it would be nice to see if the Tigers are going to look their direction. Either way, come draft day, I will be glued to the TV seeing who my favorite Major League team adds to the farm system. Again, I'm Oct Boc of Octogonal Gaming. Thank you again for having me on FG, and let's go Tigers.
Thank you, Octy. Again, make sure you check out my man Oct Boc's channel, linked in the description, and let him know I sent you. Looks like there are a lot of really good players internationally this season. The Tigers did go heavy American last year. It'll be interesting to see if they choose some of these international stars instead this season. However, should they decide to go crazy adding more American players this year, there are certainly some great options. Let's dive in. We'll start with players who were stars on poor teams. Shortstop Fred Ledford is the most recognizable of these players. From New York, he wanted to get out of the cold and decided to commit to Miami. Some scouts say he may peak very early in his career, but who really knows? He was incredible this season, leading the country in batting average as a sophomore. His vision made him the best hitter in the country as he was rarely struck out. He had a great glove, and even though his speed isn't elite, it's decent enough. His big issues are his durability and his arm strength. Whoever gets Ledford is getting a shortstop who's ready to compete early. How much better he can be over time will remain to be seen. He'll have to pick up on his work ethic to realize his potential. Not every off day can be spent at Miami Beach. Oklahoma was one of the bottom teams in the Big 12 at 16-40 this year. Shortstop Lionel Baum from San Diego, California, was often questioned why he didn't go to a nice Southern California school and instead chose to come all the way to Oklahoma to play ball. Lionel says it's because he grew up a huge fan of Jason Bartlett, who was drafted by his favorite team, the San Diego Padres. The scouts seem to think it's because he doesn't have that killer instinct and doesn't want to be the center of attention. I mean, whose idol is Jason freaking Bartlett, right? Baum was Big 12 Freshman of the Year with a .457 batting average and 20 home runs. His hitting combined with his speed is a great start to becoming the player most GMs would want him to be. The one area Baum really needs to improve on the most is his fielding. It's disappointing to have a shortstop that can't field. If he can work on that, he can be a starting shortstop almost immediately for a team in need. Auburn had a rare bad year, not making the regionals with a record of 26-30. They had a lot of seniors leave last year, and second baseman Randall Davis, now a junior, is the oldest member of the squad. He's a very raw prospect, but showed a ton of potential this season with his solid vision at the dish. He was tough to strike out and easy to walk with a great .632 on base percentage. However, like Baum, he's another infielder with fielding issues. His speed and base running is fine, but he needs to get a better glove to be a more reliable player in the field. He has some growing to do, but his attitude is that of confidence and hard work, and you'll love to see that. Being from Mississippi and going to Auburn, he faced a lot of flack from his family and friends for not being a Rebel or a Bulldog. When asked about why he made that choice, he simply says, "I wanted to play with one of the best baseball teams in the country, and I knew that if I could start here, I can start anywhere. I work harder than anyone else, and I wanted to show that." He certainly joined the team at an odd time in their history, but he doesn't regret a thing. Fortunately, for the rest of the players we're going to be looking at now, the College World Series title was in all of their sights. Texas Tech had a battle with Texas in the Super Regionals. The Red Raiders were led by catcher Bobby Corbett. Bobby is the half-brother of Corey Corbett, who is a second baseman out of Rutgers in the Tigers system right now. He was drafted last year, you might remember him. Corey lived in New Jersey with his mom and commuted to Rutgers, while Bobby lived in Texas with their dad. Bobby Corbett played and started all 4 years for Texas Tech and had his best success against lefty pitching, where his power potential really showed. Bobby's considered the Iron Man of the Big 12, being that he's never missed a game. That's tough to do behind the plate. He has decent fielding and above-average speed and base running. Like his half-brother Corey, Bobby is very raw and will likely need a couple of years in the minors to be ready for a call-up. For the Longhorns, their star was right fielder Andy Bergman, who had an offer from hometown UCLA, and he turned it down. UCLA was going to redshirt Andy, and he went to Texas instead, where he could not only start, but be the leadoff hitter. Now he enters the draft as a junior with a career .487 on base percentage and 149 career steals. Bergman's base running is excellent for a guy who doesn't really have the best top-end speed, but he has a lot of work to do. He rarely makes solid contact and doesn't have much pop to his bat. His fielding isn't even all that great for the next level, but if he works hard and gets into the right system, he can continue to blossom as he has at Texas. Bergman had 3 infield hits in the game against Texas Tech as the Longhorns got the win, 5-3. Texas moved on to the College World Series to take on Purdue, another team with one star who had carried them all season. Shortstop Gio Hawkins from Vermont only had one full-ride scholarship offer, so rather than walk on somewhere, he took the offer from the Boilermakers. Now a senior, he's emerged as one of the best contact hitters in the country. His elite vision allows him to take a walk or make a clean contact hit on almost every at-bat. He also is an extremely clutch hitter at the college level. Many MLB scouts are hoping he carries that into the majors as well. He hit a walk-off bomb against the Texas Longhorns to move the Boilermakers into one of the final 4 teams left in the College World Series. Who said a small-town kid from Middlebury, Vermont couldn't go Hollywood? LSU and Michigan got to the College World Series the exact same way. Brilliant pitching staffs. Bill Irizarry is the hometown kid from Baker, Louisiana. Bill only got a half ride to LSU, but he committed anyway because he wanted to take care of his ailing grandfather. Now he gets to commute to LSU every day and still go home to take care of Gramps. Irizarry's top-notch character has made him rise up some scouts' list as a player to watch out for in this draft. He gets through about 7 innings, usually unscathed, and rarely gives up the long ball. He really needs to work on his control of his 5-pitch repertoire to become a really viable option at the next level. The ace of the staff at LSU was Ron Olson from Kentucky. Olson was Freshman of the Year in all of college baseball. He committed to LSU because his late mother was from Louisiana and always wanted to see him in purple and gold. So, in honor of his mother, he committed there without haste as one of the best high school pitchers in the country. Olson could pitch a complete game almost every outing if he wanted to without losing much break on his pitches by the 9th inning. Olson has nasty stuff. His pitch speed is fast enough, but not overpowering. He does excel with his cutter and slider that move with some speed. At only 19 years of age, Olson can really grow into an elite pitcher at the major league level and has been named one of only 6 blue chip prospects in this year's draft class. Michigan made it to the College World Series on pitching also, but they did it with some of the most surprising guys in the country. They won 20 games this year, pitched by 2 arms who came from the same high school, Mayfield High School in Cleveland, Ohio. Jamie Gardner was a senior this year for Michigan. He usually runs out of gas by about the 6th inning, but he only gave up 1 run in all of his 11 starts. The Wolverines went 11-0 in games pitched by Gardner. He throws 4 breaking balls very well, a curveball, a changeup, slider, and a sinker. All of them are between 80 and 86 miles an hour with very good break. He's also one of the better pitchers in the country at getting out of jams. He wasn't flashy at all and went as one of the most unsung heroes in all of college baseball this season. The other pitcher on staff was sophomore Colt Torres, the polar opposite of Gardner. Torres pitches a bit deeper into the games than Gardner, and his break is his weakness. His control's impressive, and the velocity is something to behold. For this, Torres was the flashier pitcher and went more noticed by MLB scouts. However, he does have his weak points. For one, he only throws 3 pitches, a 4-seamer, slider, and changeup. All of them are 84 miles an hour or more with great control. However, he has had some issues giving up the long ball and lost Michigan the game to LSU off a homer hit in the bottom of the 8th inning. They ended up losing 1-0 because of it. It's quite easy to guess when you only throw 3 pitches. The Georgia Bulldogs found themselves in the College World Series this year due to a couple of top 10 prospects. Shortstop Patrick Heck, the hometown kid from right there in Athens, had the best average in the SEC at .582. He was the most clutch bat in the entire country, never leaving a runner in scoring position. Yeah, he was 43 of 43 driving in RBIs with runners in scoring position. He doesn't have much power, but he could very well develop into the best slap hitter in all of baseball. He still has things that need to improve, mainly in the fielding department, but the junior was certainly a star this year. In addition to Heck, Georgia had not only one of the best starting pitchers in the country, but the best player in the country, period, in Jimmy Wilson, who took home the Golden Spikes Award for best player in the country, basically the Heisman of college baseball. Coming from the state of Missouri, Wilson went a little under the radar come recruiting time in high school. Georgia wasn't sure that they wanted to bring him in due to his cocky attitude, but they quickly realized that he was the type of player who rode that fine line between cocky and confident, and he was just the latter. Wilson went deep in games, gave up just a couple of long balls, and rarely walked a batter. He throws hard with control and just needs to get a little bit more break on his breaking balls to develop into an ace for a major league staff one day. USC's great recruiting the last 4 seasons has finally paid off and got them past a very tough Georgia Bulldog team in the College World Series. USC had such a god squad that not even Georgia's 2 top 10 prospects could get a win against them. USC had 4 guys lead the way, starting with left fielder Brian Hogan from Malibu, California. Hogan is a great contact hitter who is just about average in every other category. He's definitely a raw prospect at the next level, but he was a solid number 2 hitter for the Trojans this season. Shortstop Rick Murphy hails from Laguna Beach, California, and was the leadoff hitter for the Trojans. He never missed a game in his 2 seasons with the squad. And he isn't extremely speedy, but he is deceptive and can steal some bases if you don't watch out. The USC senior catcher, Randy Graves from Avalon, California, was the cleanup hitter. With his elite contact, balls would exit the park without even being hit all that hard. His great vision and discipline and surprising clutch made him a very difficult out. Randy is slow as molasses and is an average fielder behind the dish, but his bat was a big help. Another big help was his recruitment of his neighbor, Dave Katz, the Trojans' freshman ace pitcher this year. Katz is ahead of the curve in nearly everything outside of fielding. He has great control of his very good velocity with okay break on his 4-pitch junk ball repertoire. His only form of fastball is a cutter, so everything that he throws moves. However, most Major League Baseball scouts wished it moved more. In his 2 seasons at USC, he didn't allow a single home run and finished top 10 in strikeouts each of his 2 years. The two neighbors helped USC to a 7-4 victory over Georgia and got them to the final 4 teams of the College World Series. The Illinois Fighting Illini did a great job of in-state recruiting over the last few seasons, but they'll be losing 2 of their best to this draft. Junior starting pitcher Richard Griffin is from Decatur, Illinois, and really improved through each of his 3 years with the Illini. His velocity and break are both very good, and he just needs a major league pitching coach to help him rein in his 5-pitch repertoire. He had very good stamina and only fizzled out in the 7th inning of their College World Series game against the Maryland Terrapins. Catcher Charlie Hahn was the top recruit in Illinois this year out of Bloomington High School. He had a rough year at the plate and will need an elite hitting coach at the next level to find his way into an everyday lineup, but his defense was second to none this season. He is a very durable player and an elite blocker and fielder behind the dish. He will still only be 18 on draft day, so he has a lot of scouts looking his way for teams that can use a defensive backup catcher sooner rather than later. It's unfortunate that those great Illinois players ran into a buzzsaw in the Maryland Terrapins. Starting pitcher Ozzie Baez for the Terps pitched an excellent 8 innings of shutout ball against the Illini and started to earn some attention from scouts for the first time in his entire life. The senior starting pitcher was a walk-on from Hartford, Connecticut, and has consistently improved upon his game from year to year. He's now throwing as hard as he ever has with great movement. He could, like many other prospects, use some help in controlling his pitches, but he rarely gives up a hit or walk and had one of the top 15 whips in the country. It remains to be seen how much more he can continue improving or what team will take a chance on him in this year's draft. He made excellent friends this year with the team's top freshman recruit, closing pitcher Preston Lemons. Lemons is from Brooklyn, New York, and wanted to spend his college years away from the hustle and bustle of the projects. Little did he know that he would go 47 of 47 in saves during 56 games this season and garner plenty of attention from Major League scouts along the way. Lemons is an interesting closing prospect because while he throws pretty hard, it's not his main theme. His breaking balls are deadly. His 2-seam fastball runs about 91 miles an hour. Good, but not great. But then he throws a slider, curveball, sinker, and changeup that are all between 82 and 88 miles an hour. Preston was the recipient of the Stopper of the Year award for Best Relief Pitcher. Lemons always says, when life gives you lemons, you're getting struck out. We'll see if he keeps that going at the Major League level when, not if, he gets there. We all know Maryland is Tigers center fielder and leadoff hitter Richard McGowan's alma mater. Well, his backup last year, sophomore Richard Ovilus, has declared for this year's draft. A Baltimore native at 20 years old, Ovilus has never been injured in his entire life outside of a small scrape. He was a 4-star recruit, but he hasn't been an excellent hitter in his first 2 years of college ball. However, his defense and speed is at an elite level in this draft class. He'll be a very aggressive base runner on the base paths and steal a ton of bags for whatever squad gets him. His elite defense in center won him the American Baseball Coaches Association Gold Glove Award. LSU, with Bill Irizarry on the hill, took down Purdue and their 1-star led team 2-0 for their spot in the College World Series Finals. Without their aces on the mound, USC and Maryland had quite a slugfest, but it was ultimately Lemons who was able to close out a scoreless 9th inning against the Trojans to secure a 9-8 win for the Terps. Baez got to pitch in one of the 3 games for the Terps in the College World Series final. However, LSU had 2 aces and took both of those games to win the College World Series 2-1 over Maryland. There are a ton of great prospects in this draft class, and I hope the Tigers can get their hands on a few of them. Let me know who your favorite prospects are in the comments section below. Now, we shall see where last year's user prospects ended up and how they're doing. Starting pitcher Blake Westcott is with the Wichita Wind Surge, the AAA affiliate for the Miami Marlins. He's pitched 7 innings so far to a 1.29 ERA and .71 whip. Third baseman James Watton is in the majors with the Washington Nationals. He's hitting .178 right now in 73 at-bats with 2 homers and 8 RBIs. Third baseman Ben Nast is with the Pawtucket Red Sox, the AAA affiliate for the Red Sox. He's batting .204 in 98 at-bats with 3 homers and 16 ribbies. First baseman Matt DeFonso is in Single A for the Nationals. It would be nice to see him in Double A, but I guess his overall is just too low for them right now. First base Preston McKinney is with the Rochester Red Wings, the AAA affiliate for the Minnesota Twins. He's batting .250 in 56 at-bats with 1 home run and 7 RBIs. Also with the Rochester Red Wings is starting pitcher Braden Young, and he has pitched 39 1/3 innings to a 2.52 ERA with a 1.02 whip. Starting pitcher Mark Leota is with the Northwest Arkansas Naturals, a AA affiliate for the Kansas City Royals. He's pitched 30 2/3 innings to a 4.7 ERA and a 1.34 whip. Starting pitcher Matty Dublin is in Single A for the Mariners, and I'm not really sure why. He should have a spot on the AA or AAA roster. That's kind of puzzling. Oof. Starting pitcher Cole Shackelford is with the Charlotte Knights, a AAA affiliate for the Chicago White Sox. He's pitched 15 2/3 innings to a 12.06 ERA and a 2.94 whip. Ooh, jeez. Starting pitcher Yogi Archibald is in Single A for the Phillies. Another perplexing decision, as he should certainly be good enough for AA or AAA. Right fielder Reginald King IV is in the majors with the Houston Astros. He's had 22 at-bats with a .227 average, 1 home run, and 5 ribbies. Third baseman Adam Azzarola is in Single A for the Athletics. Overall is pretty low, so I guess that makes sense. Starting pitcher Ryan Butler is with the Reno Aces, the AAA affiliate for the Arizona Diamondbacks. He's pitched 5 2/3 innings to a 0 ERA and .71 whip. Starting pitcher Ryan Schaefer is in Single A for the Giants, and he should certainly be in AA or AAA. This is another crappy move by the CPU. Shortstop Gavin Tenta is in Single A for the Orioles. His low overall makes this one make sense, but I would rather play him than Steven Arroyo. Shortstop Kristen Colon Jr. is with the New Hampshire Fisher Cats, a AA affiliate for the Toronto Blue Jays. He's batting .220 with no home runs, 10 RBIs, and 59 at-bats. Left fielder Kendall Brown is with the Buffalo Bisons, a AAA affiliate for the Toronto Blue Jays. He's batting .429 with 2 homers and 11 ribbies and 49 at-bats. Playing really well. Starting pitcher Tyler Frick is in Single A for the Indians, and this one makes absolutely no sense, and I am pissed as an Indians fan. He should be in the majors already. Fans are going to be chomping at the bit to see this guy. And finally, right fielder Rowdy Miller is in Single A for the Nationals. He really should be called up as well, as he's the number 2 right fielder in the entire organization. How is he in Single A? Make sure you stay tuned in the series for the opportunity to have your prospect make it into the series in the future. I hope you enjoyed this prospect look into the draft and the look into the past at your current user prospects. Make sure you smash that like button on the video and subscribe if you're new. Don't miss any action in this Detroit Tigers franchise, and we can build a winner together. Take care, everybody.